What is up, you guys? Welcome back to day 5 of the 12 days of Wolfmas. Currently I'm up over $2,200 and it's going all to you guys. All you have to do is be subscribed and make sure you like the video. We are here at CHUMASH Casino just outside of Santa Barbara, about 30 minutes north. And if you guys are day one supporters of this vlog, you'll know that this place hits home to me. It's where I made quads with pocket sevens when I was 18 years old. We ended up making $700 that night, and that's what really got me into poker. But now I have some bad news. CHUMASH is closing their room as of February. So you know I had to make the trip up here. I was in Los Angeles, drove up to Santa Barbara, and we're gonna play and film one of the 12 days of Wolfmas here at CHUMASH for probably what is the last time I'll ever play here, which is really sad. So if you guys are from the Santa Barbara area and you're seeing this video, make sure you get out here before February because the room's gonna close. And now, without further ado, let's get into the hands. Stepping back into this poker room is a blast from the past. I haven't played here in years, and although the players are all different, the room still has the same vibe and I love it. Not even a minute goes by and I get spotted by a vlog watcher named Javier who buys me a drink, and I have to start off at his table. It's a 1-2, $100 max. First hand, I look down at pocket 10s from the button. You know, if it's a $100 max buy-in, I'm going to play splashy, but I actually have a hand this time. I raise it up to $8 from the button. The small blind, who goes by Tristan, 3-bets me to $20. So of course, I'm going to 4-bet him all in. I only have around $80 behind. We're going to play a $200 pot here, which is double the $100 buy-in, so it's actually a pretty big one for this table. And he puts in the call when I rip it all in and shows pocket 9. So we have Tristan in pretty rough shape. But look at him, he doesn't look scared at all. And why would he be? When the flop gives him a set, it comes 9-7 deuce, all clubs. I look down, I have a black card, but it's not a club. That means we're going to need a 10 on the turn or river, which we do not get. Just like that, we are losing that first pot of the night. Had been rough shape, 80%, 20%, but you know, that's how poker goes sometimes, and happy to give back to the community.
Let's count it out though to be sure.
Yeah.
This is the best part of my job, making YouTube videos about poker. I go to a casino 2 hours north of LA. There's only 2 tables running. Javier already bought me a drink. Now Ivan buys me a honey jack, which is one of my favorite drinks. And across the table, Bo, who I'm not sure if he watches my videos or not, or if he's just an exceptionally nice guy, buys me a CHUMASH trucker hat because I complimented his. Huge thank you to everyone who watches my videos. You guys are honestly the best. And I'm going to try to make the best content in 2023 for you guys to enjoy. Alright, enough of the sappy stuff. I don't want to get emotional here. I raise the button with King 6 suited because it's a splashy game. Few limps to me, I make it $8 and we get 4 callers. The cutoff now decides to re-raise to $60. And because I have a suited king, I think GTO says you should fold, but the heck with GTO, we're running a bankroll challenge, and the only way to make more money for you guys is to put more money in the pot. So I rip it in for $79, and unsurprisingly, he puts in the call. Going off to a runout, which comes ace high, ace 7-3 with 2 hearts. The turn comes the queen of clubs, so not a great board for us, and the river is the 4 of clubs. He turns over ace queen offsuit, and he's going to take down that pot, but was just trying to mix it up there, and I felt like I had a lot of chips committed and wanted to go with it. Oh well, we're going to top on an additional $100 and look down at our next hand, 10-9 of spades. Player on my right opens it to $4. Let's add 10 to that. The new price is $14. And Tristan on my left on the button, he re-raises to $24 now. Playing some super advanced GTO tricky poker here at the 1-2 game at CHUMASH. The big blind puts in the call. I do as well. We are going 3 ways to a flop. The flop comes king 8-4 with 1 spade. We have 10 high, but we have a backdoor straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. The big blind checks it over to me. I'm going to check it over to Tristan and see what he does. Tristan decides to bet out for $16, and I'm going absolutely nowhere with my 10 high. I decide to put in the call, and the big blind does as well. That means we are 3 ways still to the turn, which gives me a pair. Comes the 9 of hearts. When the 9 of hearts peels off, the action checks over to Tristan once again. The big blind puts in the call once again, and that leads me to put in the call. I put a stack of $1 out there, and the river card comes the 3 of clubs. Action checks over to Tristan this time, and in this $185 pot, he checks behind, leaving us with the best hand. 10-9 suited is good enough to take down this $185 pot. Easy come, easy go. Alright, this might be the best hand of the 1-2 table before I switch over to the 2-3, so buckle your seatbelts. We look down at ace-10 offsuit from the button. The cutoff raises it up to $8. I put in the call, and that brings in 2 other players as well. We're going 4 ways to a flop, which just gives us the stone cold nuts. King, queen, jack, bang, we flop Broadway. I would like to say it's a pretty good flop, or a favorable flop, as Andrew Nemi would say, but it's absolutely the nuts. We can't be beating this hand unless the board pairs or goes running spades, clubs, or diamonds. Cutoff decides to bet out for $5, and I put in the call. The hijack decides to call as well, and that leads us off to the turn. The turn now comes a 6 of hearts, and the action checks over to me on the button. I feel like I need to get some value here, put some more money in, and try to set up a river shove. So that's what I decided to do. I bet out here for $23, around half the size of the pot. But unfortunately for us at these low stakes, no one seems to have a piece of the board. Someone had a hand like Jack 10, they'd have to call us. Heck, if they even had a hand like 10-7, they'd call us. So they must have had squadouche here. And either way, it feels still pretty good to flop the nuts. And that's going to end our time here at the 1-2 table. Time to graduate on to the 2-3. It's a $300 max, so I add on for an additional $100. Bigger game, better angle on the table. You guys can see what I'm seeing. I look down at King Jack offsuit from the small blind. Under the gun raises it up to $10. There's one caller to me. Because I'm in the small blind, I'm going to go for a 3x standard raise plus an X because there's a caller and another X that I'm out of position. What does that mean in English? That means I'm raising it up to $50. The big blind puts in the call and the under the gun gets out of the way. The middle position decides to call as well. That means we are going 3 ways to a flop. Let's see what we can get. The flop comes 10-3 deuce, all spades, and I'm out of position to all the other opponents, so I decide to start with a check, and the action checks through. On these monotone boards, you should do a lot of checking, coupled with the fact that you're out of position to 2 other opponents. That's a recipe for a surefire check. Sure enough, when I check, it gets checked around, bringing in the 9 of clubs on the turn, now giving me a gutter to the king high straight. I also do in fact have the king of spades in my hand, so I like my hand pretty well, but at the same time, betting out here doesn't really accomplish much, not really getting too many better hands to fold, so I decide to check once again. Surprisingly though, the big blind or the cutoff do not decide to put in a bet and try to take it down here, which leads me to river the nuts. The ace of spades peels off. Bang! We river the flush. Can't be beating this hand unless someone has 4 or 5 of spades specifically, so I like that, and I decide to lead out now into the field for $105. If someone has a set, 2 pair, or maybe even a straight, like 4 or 5 of hearts, they're probably going to have to call here. I mean, 105, it looks like I'm trying to buy the pot. At the same time, though, there's 4 spades out there, so maybe they would just find a fold. Surprisingly, though, the big blind does want to play. He wants to play for 105. So I'm going to prove it to him. I'm going to prove that I basically have the nuts here. I turn over my king high flush. He pretty quickly mucks his cards, saying he had a good pocket pair. So I got a little bit of extra value on the river, taking in that $370 pot. All right, moving right along. Things are going swimmingly here at the 2-3 table. I look down from the cutoff at 8-9 of clubs, and I raise it up to $15. The big blind puts in the call, and that leads us to see a pretty interesting flop. It comes Jack 10-5 with 2 clubs. We flop ourselves the open-ended straight draw. How are we going to lose this hand? Big blind checks it over to me. I'm out of position to the button. We call that monkey in the middle. And when we're in a situation like this, we're going to check it over to him. He decides to check behind, giving us a pair. It's not the card I wanted to see on the turn. Any queen, any 7, or a club. Or queen or 7 of clubs. That would give me a straight flush, which I desperately want to title this video. The big blind now decides to bet out for $20, and I think about all my options. Well, not all of them. I'm definitely not folding, but I could go for a raise here and make it like 75 or 80. I could just put in the call. But at the end of the day, I want to make you guys the most amount of money and give it away on Christmas Day. So drop a subscribe if you guys aren't already, because I decide to pile more money in there. I decide to raise her up to $70, which pretty quickly gets rid of the button, so at least I'll be in position the rest of the way. She doesn't think about it for too long before putting in the additional $50. That means we are off to the river. I'd love to see a great card. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because we make 2 pair with the 9 of hearts. But I say it's a double-edged sword because any queen or any 7 now have us beat. Likewise, if she had a hand like Jack 10, Jack 8, or Jack 9, she still has us beat. and now she decides to donk out into me for $70. $70 is basically crying for a call. She's leading into me when there's 4 cards to a straight out there. I pretty much just have to fold my hand, but at the end of the day, I'm playing here at one of my favorite casinos. I've been properly lubed up with 2 drinks from subscribers earlier on in the night, and I want to see what she has. I'm getting a decent price to call. It's probably just a fold in the long run, but I put in the call and she turns over 7-10 of hearts. So she had me on every street of the way, but she ended up making a straight on the river and went for some value. $327 going her way, and I go to muck my cards. Pretty standard so far, right? But she says, "Dealer, I want to see his hand." And he flips my hand over and exposes 8-9 of clubs to the table. If you guys are as confused as I was, I definitely wanted to ask why that happened. The dealer apologizes and he says it's a rule here at CHUMASH to prevent collusion. The only people that can ask to do that are anyone else in the hand, and there has to be action on the river. So when she bets and I call, she is the only person that can ask to see my hand. I think it's kind of a stupid rule. I know they're trying to prevent collusion. Let me know down in the comments if you're on my side here. I just lost this $300 pot, which obviously isn't the biggest pot of my life, but at the same time, it's a needle, right? I'm trying to have some fun, play some poker. And now imagine a situation where a reg does this to a fish and makes him not want to play poker again. It's just so bad for the game. So I think, CHUMASH is closing in February, so they're not going to change any rules between now and then. But at the same time, if any other casino out there is watching this, do not adopt this rule. And I give her a little needle at the end and tell her I'm going to stack her for doing that to me. Alright, enough with the drama. My channel is not about drama. I look down at 6-4 of diamonds from the hijack. The cutoff opens it up to $15. I put in the call, and because I'm in it, 3 other players do as well. We are going 5 ways to a flop. The flop comes king, queen, 5, all clubs, so we flop ourselves backdoor straight draw, and that's about it. The action gets checked around, and the turn comes a deuce of hearts. When the action checks over to me in the hijack for a second time, no one seems to want this pot. There's $75 out there, and I want to give it to you guys, so I'm going to go for a little stab here of $35. I know you really shouldn't be doing this if you don't have much equity, but look at that turn card. I pick up a gutter to the straight. I know it's kind of a weird situation because the 3 of clubs, I don't really know how I'd proceed on that. When I bid out for $35, I was right. Nobody wants this pot. So yeah, I'm going to take in this $75 pot, and yeah, drop a subscribe if you want some of that money. 2 hands to go here, in which was my favorite room during college. Ace-9 of hearts from the big blind. The straddle's on. There's 4 callers, and I decide to pop it up. I have a suited ace. It's pretty good. I make it $30. Let's play for some more money. Only the straddle and the hijack put in the call, leading us 3 ways to a flop. $108 out there, and the flop comes king 7-4 with 1 heart. I'm out of position to both other opponents. I start with a check. Straddler checks it over the hijack, and he checks behind, bringing in the 9 of diamonds on the turn. It's possible I just made the best hand, so I decide now to bet out for $30. Even though I connected on this turn, making a second pair, I'm also going to be checking on the flop with a lot of my kings, such as king queen, king jack, king 10. So when I lead out here on the turn, I'm not always just going to have a weak hand like this. I'm also going to have a lot of kings, and I'm also going to have my favorite hand, pocket 7s, a good amount of the time as well. In this spot, though, I do just have a pair of 9s, well, the best 9 available with ace-9, and I decide to bet out for $30. Only the hijack puts in the call. He's a non-believer, and that leads us to see the 9 of clubs on the river. Bang! We river 3 of a kind. I went from betting for value on the turn to now knowing I for sure have the best hand. Unless he was slow playing a hand on the flop like 7s or 4s, I'm going to have the nuts here pretty much all the time. I decided to go for value now. I bet small for $50. I'm pretty much targeting any of his 7s like 7-8, 7-6, or maybe a hand like 4-5 that just doesn't believe me. But when I bet out for $50, he pretty quickly gets out of the way. And that's going to lead us into the last hand of my CHUMASH career. I look down at the 6s from the hijack. Can we flop a set to end the night? That's the goal here. +1 raises it up to $15, and I put in the call. Operation Flop a Set is in order, and that's exactly what we get. The poker gods are real. Jack 6 deuce, bang, we flop middle set. Great spot for us. We're going to win some more money in this unless a spade peels off and he has a flush, but we can't bake on that, and he bets out for $15. Now the question is, do I raise it up here, make it 45 or 50 bucks, or do I just string him along and put in the 15 and hope not to see a spade on the turn? That's what I decided to do. I just put in the 15 bucks and we get a great card on the turn. It comes the 3 of diamonds. But now when the 3 of diamonds peels off, he decides to check it over to me. Oh no, is he checking here to fold? The gig is up, I guess. He checks it over to me. I bet out for $50 and he doesn't fold. He puts in the call. But notice I bet 50 into 65. I wanted to size up and charge any of his draws. For instance, if he had a hand like 9-10 of spades, he's going to have to pay the maximum here, and I think an almost pot-sized bet is appropriate. When he puts in the call, the river card comes the ace of diamonds, which is actually a great card. I know I mentioned 10-9 of spades on the turn. He could also have a hand like ace-10 of spades, ace-queen of spades. So even though he bricked out on his spade draw, he could have just made top pair. For that reason, when he checks it over to me, I decide to overbet for $175. I'm targeting hands specifically with an ace in it or a jack in it, so I really like my overbet. He ends up going into the tank, which is great news, but ultimately he does find the fold. Still not complaining though. I finish off my CHUMASH career, scooping in this $165 pot with a flop set. And that's kind of reminiscent of what happened 8 years ago when I had pocket sevens. I flopped this out of sevens and then ended up turning quads, winning, which was the largest pot of my life back then. And although this $165 pot isn't the largest pot of my life at this moment, it still feels pretty great, and I'm pretty stoked to give it all back to you guys. With that last hand in the books, we rack up our chips for the last time here and head to the cage, exchanging our chips for some cold, hard cash. Alright, you guys, that wraps up day 5 of the 12 days of Wolfmas. Got into this game for 400, out for 569, profit of 169 in around 2 to 3 hours, bringing the total of the 5 days so far up to around $2,500, and I'm going to give it all away to you guys. Make sure you subscribe, like this video for the extra run good for the rest of this series, and as always, run good on that felt, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace! Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.